Hi, my name is Casey Feicht, and I'm a practitioner as well as a senior in the Ministerial School of Spiritual Leadership. I'm also pursuing my master's degree in consciousness studies. Phew, let's take a deep breath after that. I believe that we can each find our unique spark. That is something that most of us desire and can be a wonderful bonus if we're able to find a way to do it in our everyday lives. I can say that that's absolutely my goal to do that in my work. As human beings having a spiritual experience, we can choose to focus on doing good in the world. Doesn't that sound good? Yes, I absolutely agree. So for the next 4 weeks in this series, I would like to invite you to really embark upon an adventure of settling in to spiritual practice and finding the good in the work that you do. And this may be a continuous discovery process. We will look for it through and within each task, each project, each connection, each conversation, each experience. So let's take every opportunity to really find that good. And we can do that, right? Yes, we can. So I'm going to take you through the journey of work this month from the perspective of being sparked, right? Sometimes we think of sparklers around 4th of July, but sparked can be an everyday thing. In Jonathan Field's book called Sparked, Discover Your Unique Imprint for Work That Makes You Come Alive, we'll dive deeply into exploring what your sparketype is. Finding out what sparks us is a wonderful practice. And we'll be diving into our past, we'll be aware of our present, and we'll be creating our future, even finding the sacred in the mundane, because we all know there's a lot of mundane happening in our life, right? So finding that sacred. So our founder, Ernest Holmes, shares in the Science Mind textbook on page 35, in case you're interested specifically, the science of mind is not a special revelation of any individual, rather than accumulation of all the revelations, which is one of the reasons I love it. He goes on to say, we take the good wherever we find it, making it our own, insofar as we understand it. This realization is that good is universal, and that as much good as any individual can incorporate into their life is to be used. This is what constitutes the science of mind and spirit. Love our founder, Ernest Holmes, really powerful quotes. So I encourage you to take the Sparketype assessment. It's on the website, Jonathan Field's website. Go to sparketype, type.com. So there you'll be asked to answer questions about this or that, and that'll help you develop your Sparketype. So on his website, he says that this assessment focuses on a single question. It reveals your unique imprint for your work that makes you come alive or sparks you. And if you're not doing traditional work right now, this is still for you. This can be in your passions and hobbies in so many different areas of life, finding your spark. He goes on to say that this is the sweet spot between meaning, flow, excitement, energy, express potential, performance, and purpose. So if any of that sounds good to you, whether you're working or not, this is for you. When you know your spark type, everything changes. How powerful is that? So where shall we begin? I think beginning right now in this present moment is the best place to start. So let's take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. Just being in this moment, when we're willing to find what sparks us, to really allow us to live our passion, it is not only good for ourselves, but it's good for others, because our work makes a difference in the world. And again, I use that word work as how we show up, right? So when we use wonder as a tool for finding that, we can really allow ourselves to draw on a deeper connection within ourselves. something that is dreaming us or that we are dreaming and we want to take it further. So where can wonder and work take us? So consider this. Like, what if your spark was rooted in wonder and you allowed yourself to feel passionate and alive while taking care of yourself? I know that's my mission. Self-care is key. And also taking care of your loved ones. So what if your spark is just on the other side of wonder? Are you willing to take this journey with me? Are you willing to dive in and see the what ifs, the wonder with your spark? What if instead of knowing all the answers, we lean into asking more questions and really looking within? So are you ready to dive in? So in Jonathan Field's book, he created this assessment to support you in really finding your spark. So if you haven't read the book, that's okay. I do encourage you to get the book, maybe at the library or on a Kindle. You can absolutely follow along with this 4-week series with me because I will be summarizing and sharing it with you. We'll be going through a meditation each week. So these next 4 weeks, I'm going to give you an overview of a couple of different types. There are 10 in all, and we're going to do 2 or 3 each week. So you can see right here in this graphic, the 10 sparketypes. So like I said, we'll dive into them, but here they are as an overview. We've got the maker, the maven, the scientist, the essentialist, the performer, the sage, the warrior, the advisor, the advocate, and the nurturer. You might already start to have an idea of what you are. So each type has 3 elements. There's your primary. This is your strongest impulse, like how you show up in the world, your biggest passion. Then there is the shadow. And this is not necessarily the dark, but it's the part that amplifies your primary. So it gives kind of some movement behind it. There's the anti, and this is the one that's hardest for you. Like it just takes a lot of energy, a lot of needs, and there's a recovery process with that. So again, it's not bad, but it's just not something that comes to you easily and effortlessly. It's that area where like, oh gosh, I would not want to do that for a living or spend all my time doing that. So today we're going to dive into the Maven to start. And the Maven slogan is living from curiosity. They're really in a place of fascination, almost obsession, and driven to understand. It can be very generalized for some people, but they want to learn. They want to know everything. They may go wide and deep, or they may go really narrow, or there could be a blend. I happen to be one of these mavens, and I'm a blend. I want to know everything about everyone and everything, but I also can go really deep into a certain subject. Hence this degree in consciousness studies, right? I used to want to be enlightened, and I still do, but I've changed my understanding of what that looks like. But I want to learn about everything. In these last 3 years of school, still got another year or 2, I have learned so much. So I think I'm definitely a maven at its heart. Sometimes we can get a little too obsessed, which is not always the best thing. We can just dive deep. And also people who are not understanding of mavens may kind of put some shame on us, or we have some shame too. So we have to be very aware of that. We can tap into the shadow. So for me, my shadow is the scientist, and the scientist also wants to really learn and understand and dive deep and trying to figure everything out. So like I said, the shadow is not necessarily the bad side. It's the part that actually helps the primary. So my scientist really works with my maven. I think they're very much in line, and we'll talk about more of the scientist in the following week. But they're trying to solve things, trying to bring things together. So problem solving is a big part of the maven, and really understanding as a maven. I agree with this statement that I found in Jonathan's book. It's like, I'm either learning or I'm dying. I need to be learning all the time. So it's important that we own it, that we learn to frame and see how that shows up for work. So when I think about my career, I have been learning my whole life. I found Science of Mind 12 years ago, Mile High Church. I live in Denver, Colorado, and I just started taking the classes, and I was learning and growing. And I like to also say a lot of healing was happening. I had a lot of childhood trauma to heal. And when I finished all the classes, I was like, well, what's next? I want to keep learning. So I found out there was a practitioner track, and I learned about practitioners. I became a practitioner. I did want to go into ministerial school right away. I found that as a single mom and having a small child, it was just not feasible building my own business. Of course, I tried to do it all obsessively, but I had to wait a few years. And then the timing was right. And I know when I'm done with this degree, I will just continue learning for the rest of my life. So that's how it really shows up for me. I also, during this pandemic time, had a job where, oh my gosh, I got so bored. I was bored and I was not learning and I was not growing, and it was killing me. I thought I was dying. And then people who know me, like, I'm not exaggerating when I say that I could not handle it. It was like a ball and chain. There was just not an opportunity to learn at the pace and the level that I wanted to. So I'm really grateful to have been able to move through that and pursue building my business back up again after the pandemic. So it's been quite a journey, that's for sure. So let's take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. And I say that because this next part of the Maven is being very careful of the black hole obsession. And have you experienced that, where you just, again, you may or may not be a Maven, but you just kind of go down deep into the black hole of something that's maybe not serving you. So boundaries are really important. So now I want to shift to the maker. Okay, so, pretty common sense, we think about a maker, we think of making things. So the maker's slogan is, I make ideas that manifest. I make ideas that manifest. So this person is really passionate about creation, also very process oriented, kind of like the Maven. They're building something, could be physical or digital or drawings. They're attracted to tools and media and topics that really allow them to dive deep into making something. This is also one that's often revealed early in life when people have their sparketype as the maker early on. They just have this history of making things. Maybe they're making poems or books as a kid, and it continues to grow. So it's kind of often revealed early in life. And then there's also this challenge for the makers of vision versus ability. So they can have this vision of what they want to make, and then there's the ability piece of, are they able to do it? And that can take decades for many. Like I mentioned, you might start things early and decades later things are made. So this is really the creation process that, Science Mind here we talk about, is we are all creators. The makers really, really want to create. I'm not really a big creator. I just want to learn, but of course we're always creating, right? So the makers also want to be aware of boredom. And sometimes that happens because there's kind of a disconnection between the outcome and the impact. So again, excuse me, that maker is wanting to really have that connection, to have that outcome and that impact with whatever it is they made. And again, because that takes time, that can often be a challenge for our makers. So collaboration is key. And if you're identifying with this, connecting and collaborating with others is really important. Also, I'm going to mention the black hole on each one of these different sparketypes. So the black hole with the maker is kind of similar to the Maven too, but it's that they can be so internally focused and absorbed, and that they ignore their self-care. So maybe they're like, I gotta make this thing, I'm working on it, and they just become so almost obsessed or absorbed that they forget to take care of themselves in their spiritual practice. So both the Maven and the maker, can kind of get into that deeply diving, obsessive energy. So finding balance is key. And I think that's the reason for me, finding Science of Mind has just been such a powerful process, because we live in a society where we do have to find some balance. We have to sustain ourselves with our work. Honestly, I would just learn 24/7, but I got to pay the bills, got to keep the roof over my head. So I've personally made it a mission to try to find work that I love, where I can learn and share it with others. And that's something I'm always in pursuit of. So finding your spark is about using wonder to invite and explore all possibilities. So we've discussed two of the spark types. Like I mentioned, we'll be going into more detail in all of these each week. And we're going to also dive into a little bit of meditation here in a little bit that can help you start to discover what they are. Even if you've read the book or not, done the assessment or not, these are really powerful meditations just to dive in. So finding our spark type is really about hope, faith, questioning ourselves, exploring our doubts, brainstorming, and wondering why things are the way they are. And that's a very powerful spiritual practice in and of itself, using wonder to see the world in a new way, because we often see the world as we are versus the way the world is. So what if wonder is at work for you? Like all the time. When I say at work for you, meaning it's working for you. And what if it's at work? Many of us kind of compartmentalize our lives, right? Here's my work, here's my personal, here's my self-care. But what if we can blend it all together and our work can be full of wonder as well? Something to think about. Really powerful. So I really hope that as you continue to journey with me, that you allow everyday wonder to do its work for you, that you don't always have to do the work, but you can have that wonder in your mind and be both equally committed to wonder and to the work. And notice if that allows your achievements to reveal themselves to you and for you, right? So let's take a deep breath in. I get so excited. I got to breathe and slow down. And we're going to start to dive in to the good, to the blessing, to the beloved of wonder, of work that's really inside of all of us. So I love this quote by Maya Angelou. She says, "I've learned that people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel." And the reason I just had to really bring that quote in is that when you are sparked, when you are feeling alive and doing your work that's bringing good into the world, people are going to feel that from you. They're going to want to be with you. They're going to want to work with you, connect with you, because they feel your spark, and your spark is powerful. So what if we know who we are so we can make ourselves feel and share with others our spark? Isn't that powerful? So in a few moments, I will guide you into a visualization or a meditation. It's kind of both. And we're going to go deeper into finding your spark. And then before we do that, I want to tell you just a little bit about what this process is like. So this is beautifully outlined in Jonathan Field's book, Sparked, as I mentioned. We're going to move through our 4 weeks in 4 different categories. So this first week today, I'm going to guide you through thinking about areas where you've been paid to work. This could be current, and this could be years past. Or maybe you haven't worked as much as you would like, what kind of work you would really like to do. Okay, so later in the future weeks, we're going to dive into leisure, we're going to dive into roles, we're going to dive into classes or things that you learn and study. But right now, for today, I really want you just to think about paid work. And so I will be guiding you with some questions. But before we go there, pause this if you like for a moment and grab a pen a keyboard or a paper or a writing utensil, because after we go through this process, or for some of you maybe during, you may want to write some of these things down. We often all think that we'll remember, but we live in a very fast-paced society, and I don't know about you, I never remember, so I got to write it down. So you may want to write some of these things down, and then that will give you food for thought during the week to contemplate, to think ahead about what that, how that's going to show up for you in your life. And I've done this with a couple of people. I'll start sharing some testimonials these next couple of weeks, and people are like, "Oh my God, this is amazing," because it's showing up. It really is. So it's powerful. So having that awareness forefront of your mind, and then moving throughout your week, you'll start to see it show up. Okay. So grab that piece of paper, that pen, or that keyboard, whatever you want to do. And again, you don't have to write down full sentences, just can be words or bullet points of things that are going to come up during the time of meditation or afterwards. And you're going to want to have that handy so that you can do that. All right, so let's take a nice deep breath in and a deep breath out. Let out a sigh. Let's do 2 more breaths like that. Deep breath in, deep breath out. 1 more breath, breathing in through the nose. Exhale out your mouth. So I'm going to ask you to close your eyes. If you're not comfortable closing your eyes, you can just turn your attention focusing down, looking at one spot, just to really tune yourself into the moment. And if you haven't already, turn off any electronics or phones or beeping things that are going to distract you, or come back to this later and really give yourself the gift of diving into this meditation. So breathing in, breathing out. And I'll continue to guide you to breathe, to let go and relax, because I don't know about you, but for me, when I stop breathing, which is often, I hold my breath, I stop listening. I stop being present and I move somewhere else. I don't even know where. Usually it's the past or the future, that time travel thing. But I want you to keep coming back to the present moment. So stay with your breath. Stay with the sound of my voice and the words that I'm saying, and let yourself go in and really remember, think, dream, feel, and see what comes up. No judgments, no right or wrong, just simply breathing. Take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. Deep breath in and a deep breath out. And so now I'm going to encourage you to start to think about your past. Think about the jobs you've had, the roles, something where you actually did get paid money or were committed in a work type environment. And as you start scanning the past for the most part, or maybe the present situation that you're in, start to notice when you felt most alive, when you felt most like yourself. Notice when you felt you were your best self. When you felt like you had a genuine sense of purpose. Breathing in, breathing out. When you felt most like yourself, you felt the best most often in your life, felt a genuine sense of purpose, like everything that you did mattered, where you lost track of time because you were so engaged in whatever it is you were doing. You felt very energized, you felt excited, fully expressed. So I'm going to be quiet for a moment. Just think of 3 experiences: alive, excited, expressed. Maybe it's not the details at this point, it's just a portion of that work or that job. Breathing in, breathing out. Breathing in, breathing out. Finding those 3 experiences and noticing if part of that was you felt like you were accessing your true potential. May have been just in a very short time period. So 3 experiences, 3 jobs, or 3 portions of jobs. So just hold those in your heart for a few moments. Notice the emotional attachment or connection that you may have felt to them. If you have more than 3, that's okay. If you have less than 3, that's okay. Just again, finding that spark, right? That you felt so alive, excited. And again, no judgments. You don't need to tell this to anybody. This is for you. Other people may think that's silly, and for you, it's the best thing in the world. That's exactly what we're doing. So now, for each of those 3 experiences, and again, we're still focusing just on work, paid work. We'll do the other ones in the following weeks. So I'm going to ask you a series of questions again. So you've got those 3 experiences, and this is where you may want to write those 3 down, or just if they're very solidified, that's wonderful. I'm going to ask you a series of questions for you to really dive a little bit deeper. So you ask yourself this question for all 3 areas. What were the tasks that you were doing when you felt most alive? What were the tasks that you were doing when you felt most alive? Deep breath in, deep breath out. Now think about what were the processes that you were engaged in when you felt most alive? What were the processes? Were they with other people? Were they by yourself? Also, what were the projects that you were involved in when you most felt alive in these 3 jobs, positions, work? Take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. Deep breath in and deep breath out. What were the topics or areas of focus that you were focusing on when you felt most alive? For me, I love working with kids. I feel so alive when I work with kids. So maybe it's a group of people, maybe it's a specific genre or topic within your work. What topics or areas of focus were you focusing on when you felt most alive? Breathe that in. Breathe that out. That's the last question. So this week, as you move forward, I want you to remember that wonder can be a part of your life, of the daily living part of your life. And maybe you want to even start having a journal of moments of wonder. This could be in the same notebook of your normal daily work to-dos. It could be one at the end of the day by your bedside table. But moments of wonder, because when we have this wonder in other parts of our life, that gives us clues to bring it into our work and allow these questions that I've shared with you to also percolate throughout the week, just thinking about those things that you wrote down or that came up when you felt most alive, excited. So allow the mystery of work to wonder in your life, to unfold within your daily practices. So I wonder what would happen if you allowed this to be. And ask yourself that question. I wonder what happened if I fill in the blank. It is very common practice to ask ourselves, I wonder what would happen if this or that. So incorporate that into your week today, tomorrow, until I see you again. So I hope you have a beautiful week. You stay sparked, and I can't wait to hear from you and see you next week.